Dudley drank very expensive Bordeaux.
Quite a nice little one. It's over 130 years old, this.
Yeah?
There's no need to. That's, I think, probably enough.
I saw that first show, and then I saw it again in Los Angeles a few months later. And what had happened was that Dudley had become the funny one. And then sort of, in a way, he was sort of carrying Peter. And that was so terribly tragic because, you know, Peter's alcoholism had sort of stopped him being funny. It wasn't such a great experience watching that show because you thought, oh, he's labouring, he's being held back by seeing people through a veil.
It was all awful. That's when it was all going kind of crazy. But it was crazy anyway. It was up and down like bloody Tower Bridge. It was a madness.
Who's there?
The minicab, sir. Lord Nesbitt?
Yes, listen, you're late. My car's broken down. I've got to make a speech in the House of Lords in a half an hour.
He wasn't what you would call an all-time falling down drunk at all. I mean, we don't want people to get that idea. And when I say he had too much to drink, the fact of the matter was he could function, he could work.
It must be very nice to be famous.
Yes, well, I'm not famous, you know.
Ah, but you're well known, aren't you, sir?
Yes, all right, I'm well known. I'll grant you that.
It's all a matter of luck, really, isn't it? Where you're born, who your parents are.
He didn't fall about, or not as far as I was concerned, never. It was perfect. But it was just a little bit, you know, sharpy.
I don't like people.
Well, there's no obligation, obviously.
People don't like me.
Of course they like you.
He could say something to you that would drown you. If he didn't like you.
I can be verbally very vicious.
Don't touch me, sir.
Oh, he was horrible. I think it was quite intentional. Oh, yes, certainly.
He wanted to get up and shock everybody. He lost it completely.
Scorpio poison. Whatever it was his brilliant mind would turn and it would zoom in on somebody and kill him. You know, when he didn't like a person, you didn't want to be there.
To watch somebody that you've known as this crucible of talent just spiralling downwards and taking wrong decisions and surrounding himself with people that were not going to bring out the best or remind him who he really is.
When he went to a party in London, he was, he was Peter, and hello, how are you, everybody? And he would absolutely have to start performing from the moment he went in. It became a persona that was very hard to separate from himself.
All right, sir. Get out.
It must have been very hard for those that were close, you know.
I know this sounds pretty stupid, but I thought for one moment you were going to shoot me!
Shoot you, sir?
Yes!
Shoot you? Why, the idea never crossed my mind. I mean, you're not famous enough, are you? Page 2, column 3, who needs that? It's the front page we're after, isn't it, sir?
He said, I'm actually seeing a psychiatrist. And at that time, to see a psychiatrist for well-brought-up, middle-class person in England was very sort of unexpected. And I said, really? What's wrong? And he said, well, I've been doing funny voices for so long, I no longer know who I am quite. That's what they tell me. And he said it with a kind of smile, and yet I felt that there was real pain there, too.
Peter was terrified to investigate the source of his comedy, the source of his genius. Now, this is a very important point, I think, because he thought he would lose it. If he tried to uncover it and take it apart, he thought it would leave him. And that was really, and I don't think it was an excuse, I think it was a deep, deep, profound fear.
Johnny, I come from an upper middle-class background.
You had a better start in life.
I had a better start in life because I come from an upper middle-class background. But what I ask you is, if you had not come from your particular background, do you think you'd got into writing?
Peter always made this joke about how he was on chat shows and then he was given a chat show of his own, but actually he was never very interested in anyone who came on.
When did you start writing? Did you start writing at school? I did.
I really enjoyed that show, and I felt it was hammered. The critics were waiting for Peter, which is what they do, you know. Then they say, oh, well, did he waste his life? Well, no, they tried to waste him. the minute he came and did something different.
It was the greatest waste of a great comic talent that you can possibly imagine.
So I would like to thank everybody who's helped to make this show stagger through for a second unprofessional week.
And I have a feeling that when that was pulled, I think that did, and I completely understand it. And he never caught hold again, really.
I was interviewing once, he mentioned his own chat show, and he was full of good jokes to pick. He said, oh, well, yeah, I did a chat show, it was really bad. Much worse even than this one, Clive. Or I asked him why he used Derek and Clive, you know, why he used those names for those foul-mouthed. He said, I don't know, Clive was just sort of the naffest names we could think of.
I wrote to Mrs. Thatcher.
Yeah, well,
I said, dear Mrs. Thatcher, you know, respectful. Pardon the language, but I've got the fucking horn.
It came about in New York. Peter wanted to record one sketch, which was to do with Jane Mansfield.
The worst job I ever had was with Jane Mansfield. I had the terrible job of retrieving lobsters from her bum.
I think it's worth remembering with Peter, it wasn't only the comedy community that revered him. The musicians and the performing community in general revered him. For example, I think it's true to say that the Derek and Clive tapes actually were eventually released to the public as a result of the fact that they became cult listening amongst rock bands on the road.
I'd like to come back as a light switch.
Yeah, I would too.
Why? In an all-female household.
Oh, yeah, get felt up all the time.
Get women feeling you the whole
Yeah.
time.
Peter used to have that attitude of nothing should be censored, that everything is fair game.
Turn you off like that and you go up like that.
Yeah, that'd be great, that.
I don't like Derek and Clive. I know it's the least distinguished part of their career.
I love Derek and Clive. You know, I'm always slightly resistant to analysing comedy and trying to work out what's going on. If you just put the record on and sit there and listen to it, it makes me laugh anyway.
There was a separation in the end between, you know, the higher and the lower aspects of his character. And of course at that time it was all being fed, you know, promiscuity, sexuality, drugs. It was all on offer.
Did you see that TV coverage of the Pope when he was lying in state?
There's some quotes from Dudley Moore about how Peter was more or less just trying to shock him in the recording. He was no longer thinking at all about how this played or how it went. It was ways of offending Dudley.
The last Pope, you know, John Paul, lying in state on that catafalque, in those robes.
Why did you take that